Hello, Safe Harbor ladies. So happy to be with you again. We're doing a class with the theme coming from First Peter chapter 2, craving pure spiritual milk. And we're going to do a little meditation, breathing practice with that. I have a bolster. You can use a block, a folded blanket, a little pillow off the couch. But what it's for is to sit upon. So just something that can bring the hips up higher than the knees and tilt the pelvis forward. So we're going to sit for a moment. And you'll feel when that tilt gets there in the pelvis, it just opens up the belly to be able to really breathe deeply. So here's our verse. Like newborn babies, crave pure spiritual milk, so that by it you may grow up in your salvation, now that you have tasted that the Lord is good. I read that this morning, and the word crave really stood out to me. There's so much energy of craving in our culture right now, people wanting to get back to their life and back to their family, and just heightened levels of addiction probably with all that. And so this practice that we're going to do is to help quell the bad cravings. So if you're finding yourself ramped up and wanting to move towards a craving, then this is for you. So what we're going to do is make fists and get our thumbs and put them into that soft spot in our temple. Put a little pressure there. So we're going to be breathing evenly and steadily through the nose. So inhale through the nose and exhale through the nose. But while we're exhaling, we're going to be squeezing the molars together. And we're going to squeeze them together 4 times. And while we're doing that, we're going to be thinking on the inside, crave pure spiritual milk. So we're going to do this breathing and sort of meditation for a minute or so, just so you get a hang of it, but it's going to be quiet. I'll repeat those words for you a few times, and then we'll do it silently, and then we'll pause and feel the effects of this breathing meditation. Crave pure spiritual milk. Squeezing the molars together once for each word. Crave pure spiritual milk. Crave pure spiritual milk. And now silently just on the inside. Last round. Release the hands, palms up to the knees, deep inhale. Hold the breath. Exhale. Now just a couple rounds of natural breathing and feel the effects in the body of that craving meditation. If you had a craving before we started, feel how it might have shifted. And know that you now have a practice for if you're feeling a craving that isn't a healthy one and you would like to have a practice to kind of quell that a little bit, you can do this practice for up to like 23 minutes. So now you have a go-to practice. And as we clear away the yucky cravings, we can begin to crave pure spiritual milk. All right, so come off your support if you have, and come standing at the top of your mat or middle of the mat, whichever way you're facing this. We're going to bring the feet together and inhale, circle the arms up. And then grab the left wrist with the index finger and thumb, but feel that left foot really stamping into the ground. Gaze is up. And sweep it down, palms to the heart. And inhale up, grasp the right wrist with the left index finger and thumb and lean. Pressing that right foot into the floor. And exhale, sweep it down. A couple more like that. Lean. Back to the center. I like this little sequence to emphasize our word grow. Feel like a spindly little plant. We're going to keep the hands at the heart and cross the left foot behind the right. Stay on the ball of the foot then. And then inhale, sweep up, grasp the left wrist and lean. And sweep it down, hands to the heart, cross the right foot behind and inhale up. Grab the wrist and lean. Sweep it back. One more time, right like this. And left. Whoop. I like to get that foot placed before I pick up the arms. A little mindfulness there. This time we're going to reach that left foot back even further and try and straighten the leg. And then sweep up. See how we're growing, taking up more space. And cross the right foot way back. And lean. Big cross back. Big crescent stretch. Growing our pose, growing ourselves. As we're nourished by pure spiritual milk. And back to center. We're going to come into downward facing dog now. If your wrists are bothering you, you can make that a dolphin pose. So you can come down onto the forearms like this or interlace the fingers. If your wrists aren't bothering you, plant the hands, fingers super wide, index fingers pointing straight ahead, wrist creases parallel, tuck the toes and lift and pull back. I like for that first down dog to leave the knees slightly bent so that we can grow this posture a little longer. So really pressing into the hands, pressing the floor away. See if you can grow the distance between the shoulder heads and the hip points. Then we're going to super bend the right knee and straighten the left leg and grow the distance between that back left foot and the right front hand. Feel the dynamic energy between those 2 points. And then bend the left knee and bring the right heel down and press the left hand and right foot away from each other, really growing that space between them. And then bring both heels down, sinking the heart down, lengthen, 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 getting nice and long. What do I have us doing next? Alrighty. We're going to come up on the balls of the feet, walk the feet in, a couple of footprints, walk the hands back, come into an Uttanasana. So we're inner spiraling the thighs so that the sit bones can grow up away from the ground. If your hamstrings are super tight, you might want a little micro bend in the knees. And then we're going to press into the shins and come up halfway. And then you may even like to place the hands on the belly and slide the muscles apart, so as we come back down, there's even more space to fold in. Rooting down, like little tree roots are growing out from our feet. And then press into the shins. And as we draw that nourishment in, we're growing and expanding. And then fold with the exhale. Inhale up one more time. And this time when we come down, we're going to walk the feet to the edges of the mat. We're going to bring the left hand to the outside of the right ankle and reach the right arm up and grow the distance between the crown of the head and the tailbone. And then sweep it down. Right hand on the outside of the left ankle. And grow that distance between the crown of the head and the tailbone. Grow, grow, grow. We crave pure spiritual milk so we can grow. Sweep it back down over to the right foot again. And down and over to the left again. And back to center. We're going to angle the heels in, the toes out, and come down for Malasana. You may find you need to walk the feet in a little bit, make whatever adjustments to be comfortable. If you have a block there, you can sit upon it if that helps you in this posture. And we're rooting down through the feet. If your heels can't touch the floor, sometimes there's just the structure of the bones in your feet. Those heels can't come down. You can come up on blocks or just balance a little bit there. But we're gonna have the tailbone rolling down and the crown of the head lifting tall. That feeling of growing up out of this firm foundation in the legs. Palms are pressing against each other, elbows are pressing into the knees, and knees are squeezing back so we can grow a little taller. Craving pure spiritual milk so that we can grow in our salvation. And come down into a table pose, knees under hips, hands can be a little forward to the shoulders. Inhale, look forward, heart lifts. Exhale, tuck the tail first, round all the way up till the crown of the head drops down. And then inhale, extend back through the tail and head comes up first. And keep following that pattern with the breath. You know, when I think of babies, especially newborns, and what they crave and what they want, everything they want is for their growth. And everything they want is pure. They want to be held. They need nourishment. They need protection, warmth. They need rest. And they don't crave anything that isn't good for them. And something happens along the way, and we start craving things that are not so good for us and really out of order. And part of the spiritual life, when Jesus says to become like little children, he means as little as babies in arms. So we're going to bring that right foot forward in between the hands and circle the arms up. And then elbows go wide, heart lifts, arms keep circling back, 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 interlace the fingers and reach the fist back for that heel. Heart keeps lifting. And then release and bring the hands back to the floor and change legs. And inhale, sweep it up. Just like we're little growing plants, growing children, reaching further and further. Elbows coming down and behind us, heart stays lifted. Interlace your fingers in the unusual way and reaching down with the fingers as the heart grows upward. And breath stays full. And release the hands, bring them back. Whew. And we're going to turn to the side of the mat here and do a little variation of some things we'll do later in a more grown-up fashion. So I'm going to keep my left knee on the floor and bring the sole of the right foot off to the right, but in line with that knee, and coming into a right angle, and then arms out, shoulder height. So Virabhadrasana 2, little baby version. And then we're going to sweep the right arm up, coming into reverse warrior, and then arms come back shoulder height, and then forearm to thigh, and reach the left arm up and over with the heart lifting, chin lifted, gaze lifted, and then back. And we'll just start flowing that with the breath. So whatever pace feels nice and natural for you. Staying steady with the breath and smooth with the movement. So when I start to consider what on earth is this pure spiritual milk that we are supposed to be craving, I think of spiritual practice that's really nourishing, like reading the Bible and studying the Bible with others, listening to sermons and reading devotionals, prayer, crying and repenting, making amends, all the things that connect us and grow us. They connect us to God and grow us into more mature Christians. Bring the right knee down and bring the left foot off to the left, and line up the heel and the knee first, and then come into that Virabhadrasana arms, and then reverse your warrior, and Vira 2, and forearm on the thigh reaching over, pinky side of the hand is down and heart is turning upward, and back to shoulder height, and just flow with the breath, smooth organic movement. That word crave is a strong one. You know, it's to desire strongly. A lot of times we think of our spiritual practices, our duties, or the right things to do, but we're supposed to be craving these because we desire so much to grow. And think of babies. They spend all day moving and eating and sleeping, all to grow. Couple more rounds. This flowing sequence. And back to center. And knee down. We're going to come into child's pose. Knees wide, big toes together. Sitting back on the heels, forehead to the floor, just like babies do. Getting all tucked together, elbows can be down, breathing into the back. And take this pause to ask the Lord, is there something that would help me to grow, that I should be seeking out and desiring, that I should be craving for? What is the pure spiritual milk that I need to grow in my salvation? Just pause and see what he says. And rise up. If you didn't get an answer, it's a good question to hold on to. I think questions are worth more than answers sometimes. And we'll plant the hands and we'll tuck the toes and pull back into downward facing dog again. Rotate the armpit, the outer edges of the armpits down and in. Sink the space between the shoulder blades coming together. Root the heels. Getting rooted and nourished so that we can grow up in our salvation. And then come up on the toes, bend the knees, look forward, step your left foot up between the hands. It may take a couple of steps if you're new to yoga. This is high lunge. I'm going to pause here for a moment, heart reaching. And then we're going to angle the back foot down. Okay, so the toes are further forward than the heel. And then we're going to walk the hands off to the right so that this left hand's in line with the foot. And then pull the hips back. Really try and grow that distance between the hands and the hips, pulling back. See if you can sink a little more into that front knee without it going past the ankle. And then keep walking the hands over towards the middle of the mat and angle the feet so that both of them are a little pigeon-toed. Big toes coming in towards each other a little more. Hands are under the shoulders. And we're going to left hand under the face and reach the right arm up. And sweep the right hand down, plant it under the face and sweep the left arm up. And again. Just that flowing, growing sequence. Our growth coming from the good nourishment of being provided for by pure spiritual milk. And I'm going to switch sides on my mat. So I'm going to come to this side so you can see. Step back into down dog. You can stay at the same end of your mat if that's more convenient for you. But maybe bending the knees, a micro bend for a second to grow those sit bones higher. And then straighten the legs more. Sink the heart more. Drawing the forearms closer towards each other isometrically so that the arms feel super strong and rooted. And then up on the toes, bend the knees and step the right foot forward into high lunge and get strong and rooted in high lunge first. Heart reaching forward. And then bring that left heel down and start to walk the hands off to the left so that this right hand's in line with the right foot, and then pull the hips back, reaching the arms long, then sinking a little more into that front knee, growing and expanding because we're nourished by what's pure. And then keep walking the hands over to the middle of the mat and angle the feet so they're both angled in, but they're in the same line. And walk the hands back so that they're on the imaginary line between the arches of both feet. And then start to pull the head down towards the ground. We're squeezing the shoulder blades up and in towards the spine so that the shoulder heads don't drop down towards the ears. You're riding up the back. Maybe lifting the arches and feeling that line of energy go from the arches all the way up the legs, and then the outer edges of the leg all the way down to the outer edges of the feet are rooting down. You can maybe close the eyes. This is a nourishing posture. Helps us to calm down and rest and digest. Turn inward. Another pause to take in that pure spiritual milk so that we can grow in our salvation. And coming up, hands underneath the shoulders, and I'm going to walk around to this side of the mat so my left foot is forward, and then come up into Virabhadrasana 2 on the second side now. Okay, so check your stance, see that your front knee isn't going past the ankle, and the back foot is in line so that the heels are in line with each other, or mid-arch is in line with that front heel. If we drew an imaginary line, and angle the foot in or off perpendicular to that front foot. So this is my 230 turned in a little bit. And then we'll sweep the arms out for Virabhadrasana 2. Turn the gaze over the front hand. Keeping the shoulders out of the ears, and then grow that left arm up while the right hand reaches down the leg for reverse warrior. Maybe sink a little more into that front knee. And back up to Virabhadrasana 2. And then forearm to front thigh and reach over. Rooting into the edge of the back foot. Growing up to the tips of the fingers. And back to Virabhadrasana 2. And then flow with the breath. Reverse warrior, Vira 2, extended side angle. Feeling that fluid, organic growth that comes from being nourished with what is pure and spiritual. Getting back to our original selves, that everything we wanted led to our growth, led to our health, our flourishing. And this time, we're going to bring the right arm behind us and grab what you can. Can you see my fingers? We're going to come into a little bit of a bind. So I can grab my thigh, but you may just grab your shirt. And then we'll sweep up for reverse warrior in the bind. And then coming back down for that extended side angle, or fingertips to the floor, but heart still turning upward. Growing from the crown of the head down to the back edge of the heel. And then back up, release that arm, angle the feet in, coming back down. This is Prasarita Padottanasana. And this time we'll root so strongly into the feet that we can let go of the floor, interlace the hands behind us and lift them up and overhead. Sighing away any tension, closing the eyes, relaxing and resting, seeing if you can keep the weight evenly throughout the whole foot. So not just going all into the heels, but bringing some weight into the ball of the foot and the toes as well. And then bring the fist back to the sacrum and rise up. And I'm just going to angle on in this direction. So now my right foot is at 12 o'clock, back foot is at 9:30. It can be at 9 o'clock also. We wouldn't want it any less. Heel, heel, or heel mid-arch alignment. Seeing that you can see a few toes on this front foot, we don't want the knee collapsing in. We want it out towards the pinky side of the foot. And come up for warrior two. Couple of breaths, gazing out over the middle finger of the front hand, keeping the shoulders down away from the ears. And then grow that right hand up. Left hand traces down the back of the leg. And then back to Vira 2. Forearm to that front thigh and reaching overhead. Just like that reach is like, watch me grow. And then back. And now we'll just start to flow those three poses with the breath, with ease, filled with breath, filled with pure spiritual milk, so that we can grow up in our salvation. One more. Reverse warrior. One more extended side angle. And this time when we come back up to Vira 2, we'll bring that left hand behind us and grasp what we can, thigh or shirt. And then we'll reverse our warrior with the bind. Heart lifting and growing upward. And coming down to forearm and turning the chest or fingertips to floor. And back up, unwind, angle the feet in, come down, and see if after all of this, if maybe the crown of the head is a little closer to coming onto the floor. Shoulders lifting up away from ears. Legs staying super strong and rooted. Staying nourished with nice full breath. And coming up. What do I have us doing next? All right. I'm going to come back to the top of my mat and step back into downward facing dog. Feel how much more open and expansive your dog is now. Now we've stretched out the legs, lengthened and expanded through the legs. Then drop down to the knees wide, big toes together. Come to that child's pose again, Balasana. Nestle the hips in, elbows down. Begin to breathe into the back. Children, especially little newborns, live in such a perfect balance. Getting the rest they need, the nourishment they need, the stimulation they need. Everything's in perfect balance. And when it isn't, they let you know so that you can help them get back to that perfect balance. And we want to emulate that we're craving a life where we're growing and thriving, getting all our spiritual needs met through pure spiritual milk. No junk food. Now, depending on how your child's pose goes when it's wide knees versus together, some people have a hard time coming down and still having room to breathe. But if you need the knees apart a little bit for this so that you have more space, that's fine. We're going to do a little bit of a variation on rabbit's pose now. So we'll bring the arms behind us and we're really tucking the chin down as then we bring the crown of the head towards the floor and grasping the heels and then lifting the hips, tug on the heels a little bit, getting a nice big arching curve in the back. And then hips down and rise up. And I like to bring the knees together, come up on the toes, interlace the fingers behind the back, arch and look up. And then release and come back into rabbit again. So feet flat on the floor, reaching for the heels, tucking that chin in, bringing the forehead as close as you can to the knees first, crown of the head on the floor, and then start to lift. Maybe tugging the heels a little bit. And down and up. Tuck the toes, interlace the fingers the other way, and lift the heart. Alrighty. So we're going to plant the hands and come into plank. So here's our plank pose. Our hips are down, but they're not sagging. Okay, so it's like from the back of the shoulders to the sacrum is a straight line. And then we're going to rock the heels of both feet off to the left. And then come back on the balls of the feet and rock the heels over to the right, on the edges of the feet, back to the balls of the feet, and then come into down dog. And rest for a moment in down dog. Nice deep breaths, nourished with pure spiritual milk. And then up on the balls of the feet and rock both feet over to the left. Step your right foot halfway up the mat and then reach the right arm up. Vasisthasana variation. So So pelvis is lifting, gaze is lifting, heart is turning, and then thumb and finger come together. Bend that right knee and come down. Using that left arm to keep your spine tall. Crown of the head lifting up. Pause for a moment. And smile. And then stack the knees. Come down onto the side so that the hips and the shoulders and the elbow are in one line here. Now we couldn't get out of a class that mentioned newborn babies and not have a birthing posture. So here we go. We're going to pull that top knee in. Breathe and balance here for a moment. And then slide the hand down to the top of the foot, around the ankle, and drop the knee and start to, this is dancer pose reclining. So feel that quad open up. Feel the heart open, gaze lift. That top shoulder's moving back. And then just like we're growing and changing and altering from all this good nourishment, we'll pull that knee back in. And then I like to bring my hand around and grab my big toe. That may be accessible or not to you. You may want to grab the shin or the leg somewhere. And then straighten that top leg. And just pause and breathe here. We're growing so straight and tall. Well nourished. And bend the knee, release the toe, and stack the knees. And I have to switch to the other side. You can repeat that sequence where you are. So we'll come into down dog. Then come up on the toes and rock the feet over to the right and step the left foot halfway up the mat. We're resting on the outer edge of that back foot. Lifting up. Pelvis is lifting. The heart is lifting. We're growing upward. Then thumb and index finger come together. Bottom knee bends. Back the wrist or hand comes onto that top knee. Just pause in this elegant posture, like growth and poise. Definitely a picture of well nourished. And release the hands, stack the knees, and come down onto the side, supporting the head. And here comes our birthing posture. Draw in that top knee. See if you can get your balance here. I'm feeling a little shaky. And then come down to the foot with the hand and bring the knee in line with the hip and the foot. And reach back. We're letting the foot push into the hand and the hand pull into the foot. So we're getting some opening through the heart and some opening through that quadricep. Nice deep breaths. And then hand back to the knee, draw it in. And then arm comes to the inside, or even if you wanted to grab the back of the leg, you could stay about right there. And grasp the toes, 2 fingers between the big toe and the next one, and then stretch up. Well nourished. We don't have everything we crave in this world, but we do have what is pure and spiritual, always available. And bend that top knee, stack the knees, and come up. We're going to come into Sukhasana, that's cross-legged pose. I'm going to bring my right leg in front of the left to begin with. So right down through the sit bones, heart's lifted, armpits are open. And we're going to inhale, sweep the arms up and bring the right arm in front of the left, and then flip the palms towards each other and interlace the fingers. And then reach that fist up high, 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 just like you were a little tulip bulb breaking through the ground, growing straight and tall towards the light. And then bend the elbows and bring that down towards the crown of the head. And lift. And down. Following the pace and pattern of the breath. And one more time. Growing. And this time when we reach the arms up, we're going to turn to the right knee, but keep turning the head. Coming a little spinal twist. See if you can stay even through both sit bones. And then release the hands. The back of the left hand goes to the back of the right knee, and we're up on the fingertips on the back hand. Turning the heart and chest, turning the head off to the right. And breathe into the twist. And then bring the head so that it's more centered between the shoulders, and then drop the left ear towards that left front shoulder. And just pause there. Feeling that length in the neck. And then turn the head just like we're looking down towards the shoulder. Keeping the breath steady and nourishing. We crave pure spiritual milk so that we can grow. And then tilt the head so the ears over the shoulder again, and back to neutral. And come back to center. And we'll just circle the shoulders. Few rounds, circling back, feeling the shoulder blades squeeze towards each other. The heart opening. Then inhale, lift the shoulder heads up towards the ears, and exhale, drop. Inhale, lift up, and exhale, drop. One more time. Got a little fun transition for you. So we're going to tip back onto the sacrum. Grab the big toes and lift. Heart lifting. I'll show you what a little bit from the side. You can stay where you are. So we're keeping the heart and chest lifted. Just like we're lifting up our newborn. Seeing their sweet and beautiful face. And all we want to do is nourish them and take care of them. And that is how God wants to be with us. He wants to give us those things we're going to need to grow. And bend the knees and cross the legs so that the left is in front of the right. This time, inhale, sweep the arms up. Left arm crosses in front of right. Flip the palms again and interlace the fingers. It's kind of an interesting feeling, huh? And then reach the arms up. It should be right around the head because the head is still reaching straight up even as the arms are growing up in our salvation. And then elbows widen. And inhale, straighten. Exhale down. Inhale up. Exhale. One more time. Inhale. And then turn to the left. Keep turning the head. Let's see if you can keep that right sit bone really connecting down at the same time. And then release the clasp of the hands. Come onto the fingertips of the left hand behind you, and the back of the hand is on the back of the left knee. And turn. From having our arms overhead to now, do you feel that like flood through the shoulders? That is what good nourishment feels like. Crave pure spiritual milk. And then bring the head to more a neutral position between both the shoulders and tip the right ear towards that front shoulder. Feel what that does for the neck. And then turn as if we're looking down, kind of at the bicep here. Give the back of the neck a chance to unwind. And then ear over the shoulder again. And back to neutral. And unwind. Alright, we'll do a couple more shoulder rolls. And then we'll come down onto the back for our cool down. All right. So hugging the knees in. Begin to rock from side to side. Place the hands on the heads of the knees and begin to circle the knees in one direction and then the other. And then big toes stay together, knees go wide. And as we circle the knees apart and in, we'll feel the low back opening and arching and then collapsing back through the floor. And then circle in the other direction. Out and in. Out and in. And soles of the feet to the floor, hip width apart. Arms out, shoulder height. And we're going to press into the feet to lift the hips up a couple of inches. Swing the hips off to the left. And we'll come back down on the right hip. Draw in the knees and let them fall to the right, and the gaze is out over that left arm. See if you could keep that left shoulder rooting into the ground. And pull that top hip down and away. And center the head, lift the top knee, then the bottom, and square the pelvis again. Press in the feet to lift up, swing a couple of inches off to the right, come back down on the left hip, draw in the knees and let them fall to the left as the gaze goes to the right. first. Lift the top knee, then the bottom. Whew. We'll bring the right ankle across the top of the left thigh and flex the foot strongly so that you protect the knee. And if this is already a big opening in your hip, you can just push that thigh away, top thigh away. If not, you can pull the left thigh in. You can always use that right elbow to press the right leg away by pressing into the thigh. And if you want a little more, you can rock from side to side. Just like a baby, rocking, craving pure spiritual milk to grow in salvation. And release. Cross the left foot across the top of the right thigh and either press that left leg away or draw it in and wrap the hand interlaced behind the right thigh. Press the left elbow. Pressing the left elbow into the left thigh will increase the opening in the hip. So if you want less, let the knee fall more towards the center. If you want more, press it out. And then maybe you want to rock a little bit from side to side. So soothing to the nervous system. Babies know just what to do to deal with the stress of this life. Go get held and go get rocked. Go get fed and go to sleep. We would do well to follow their example of simplicity. And release. And we're going to come into Shavasana. You can stretch the legs out long so that the feet are as wide as the mat and arms are extended out, palms up, fingers curled at about a 45-degree angle from the body. I like to walk my shoulder blades under a little bit so that the heart is lifted. And then bring the chin more towards the chest so that the chin is lower than the forehead. And check in with your low back. Is it feeling like it can sustain this posture? If not, bring the soles of the feet to the edges of the mat and let the knees fall in. Either way is fine. Close the eyes and rest. Deepen the breath. Wiggle the fingers and the toes. Begin to rock the head from side to side, making small movements. Inhale the arms up overhead until the thumbs touch on the floor behind you. Draw the feet together, extending through the toes. You can hook the thumbs together and then reach the right fingertips away from the right toes. And squinch a little bit in the left side of the body. Then squinch in the right side of the body so that you can reach through the left fingertips and left toes. A couple more of these fishy wiggles. And then draw the knees in towards the chest one at a time and roll to your right side using that bottom arm as a pillow. And rest here in our fetal position. Use the hands to press on the floor to come up into a comfortable seated position with the eyes closed. Inhale the arms up overhead. Palms come together at the heart. In 1 Peter chapter 2, verses 2 and 3, it says, "This is how we are supposed to be, like newborn babies. Crave pure spiritual milk, so that by it you may grow up in your salvation, now that you have tasted that the Lord is good." And Father, we have indeed tasted that you are good. We've tasted your mercy, your protection, your provision. Lord, we know that you are a good Father and that you take care of us so well. Help us to remember that. Help us to turn away from evil cravings that would just bring us down, and you know they won't help us or anyone around us. So help us to turn away from those cravings and instead to crave the pure spiritual milk that will help us grow up in our salvation. In Jesus' name, amen. Well, thank you. I'll see you at Bible study.